Okay, and welcome to Dreamweaver Assignment 2. In Dreamweaver Assignment 2, it's a little bit different than 1. So what we need to do is copy your Dreamweaver 2 folder over that have been provided by your instructor and examine the contents of the folder. So what you need to do is open up your folder in OneDrive, download it, and then save it into your Dreamweaver folder. So as you can see, I have Dreamweaver 2 here. I'm going to add my initials to the end of that so that my instructor knows that that's my folder. I'm also going to add this to the HTML document, which I don't think I may need right away, but I'm going to just add it there anyways. So I have this step 10, I have a step 9 PDF, I have an HTML file called assignment 2, and I have an HTML called index. And then in my images folder, there's a whole bunch of images. And then I also have 2 CSS files in there and a JavaScript. Now in Dreamweaver, we're going to use a starting template. So it says starter templates, basic layout, single page. So I'm going to go to my Dreamweaver and I'm going to say create new. Oh, actually, even faster, you can just say starter templates. So under here, or you can say create new. So starter templates, it gives you this kind of a view. Or if I say create new, I'm showing you 2 different ways. In here, it says starter templates. And then it says, we'll go back to make sure we're doing the right thing here. Starter templates, basic layout, single page. So basic layout, and then it says single page. So this is where you want starter templates, basic layout, single page, create. So now you can see that it opened up my source code, a CSS file, and it says my JavaScript, which is a remote file that cannot be edited. That's fine. So now that I have that open, I'm going to go back to my assignment outline. It says save all the files needed to make the site work in Dreamweaver 2 folder. Close the file. So I'm going to say save all. And it should pop up with this window that tells you that you need to save it. So I'm going to call this one index. I think it tells you can save it. Index is always your main page, usually in a template or in your folder. So it doesn't say, just says Dreamweaver A2. Okay, so yeah, I think I'm going to save this one as index and my initials and another dash, and then I'm going to put A2 just so I know it's assignment 2. So I'm going to make sure that's also in the right folder here. So that's over here, and I'm going to say save. Then it did say to close it. So up in the top of my tab on the left-hand side, I'm just going to put the X. So it's going to close that file out completely. So it should be saved in my folder. The next step is that in Dreamweaver, you're going to create a new site again. So we did that in assignment 1. So you're going to go to site, new site. You're going to call this one A2 or assignment 2. And then you're going to click on the folder and find the folder that you need, which is assignment 2 right here. And say choose and save. Now I can see all of my files are in here. So I have my JavaScript, I have all my HTMLs that are in here. I'm going to go back to my outline and it says find your folder, rename the HTML2 to assignment 2 in your initials file by clicking once on the name. So I have that right here in the HTML, but that's not the one that I need. This is the one that assignment 2 ls A2 is what I called it. So this is my file here. I'm not going to change the name only because there's already one in this folder. You can open up that file to work from that if you're having problems. The next part, step 5, is add a background image to the header and select the appropriate images. So what I'm going to do is open up my index LSA2 right here. So I'm going to double click on that. And in my images folder, I can just zoom, I can just hit the little arrow and it shows me all of the different images that are in this file. So it wants me to change the background image to the header. So don't confuse that with head. It's the header. So remember, this is the header here. And look at it, already has an href in here. Notice how that has, there's a meaning it's linking to something, right? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to click in between those two on line 23. I'm going to click in between the quotation marks. And you can say it says format heading, logo, link. So down in my properties at the very bottom, I can just click on this little pointer and point to the file that I want. So say I want to pick a pink flower. I'm also going to give that, oh, you know what, this is an alt, this is an attribute. I want to create an image. That's what I'm doing wrong. So I'm going to change this to image source. And then it's in my images folder. It's called pink flower GIF. And then I'm going to give it an alternate name. Whoops. And 2 quotations there. And then instead of an attribute tag here, I'm going to just take that out because it's not actually an attribute. So this is my flower here. It's obviously much too big. So I'm going to say, I'm going to give it some dimension proportions to abide to. So I'm going to say max dash width. Remember, we learned this in fundamentals of web dev a bit. And then we're going to put 20%. So meaning 20% of whatever size your viewport is. And I'm going to go save all. And that still did not work well. So in here it says image. I'm going to go to my CSS designer and see what's going on with that image source. So in my header, it's much too big still, and it's not applying it to the background, which is even more interesting. So in front of this, I'm going to actually add an attribute. So href equals flower and I'm going to put the end attribute tag after the image source file and see what happens there. I might actually change where this is. I might actually change this to the logo. So this is actually the logo here. So I might change the class logo area to my flower file. But right now I might pick a different file to put in the background here. So I'm going to click on my header. So notice how I'm clicking here on header. I'm going to actually see in my selectors, it does say header. So I have header. It says the width is 100%. The height is 5%. And I'm just going to put an auto there and see if my photo fits a bit better. Yeah. So now you can see in my header, I have the flower image and it's fitting a lot nicer in there. The other part I wanted to show you was if you click on the properties background here, it says that it's blue right now, but you can also apply an image. So we're going to actually do that with our flower. So if I click on the folder here and I scroll to my assignment 2 images and I pick that same flower. Oh, let's pick this flower, sure. See, notice how it makes it in the background there. So I'm actually going to take out my source here. So again, I'm going to go into header. I've got my pink flower there, but I don't want this one in there. So I'm just going to leave I'm going to take out the image source for the other flower and leave in my attribute tag. And then I need to put in a closing attribute tag. So I have my closing attribute. I have my flower here saying it's referencing that. Oh, right, because I linked it to there. Okay, there, good. So I'm gonna leave my flowers like that. So you can see at the top, it's kind of cutting it off, but I like the effect it's giving. So I'm leaving it. So I have header, href, flower. The word light is in there as well. So that's the logo. So I'm going to call this, I'm actually going to emphasize the word light. Or actually, so I'm going to emphasize it with the word strong. And so opening and closing, I'm nesting this element inside of light. Strong there. And hopefully it makes it bold. So I'm going to say save all. And I have this weird half closing tag here. So I better finish that. So now I have no errors in there. It's all cleaned up. My flower might have to have the attribute header is not there anymore. So I might have to give that actually like a size in the header. Oops. Because it doesn't seem to like what's going on. So it says height auto. So I'm going to say pixels instead. And then I'm just going to make that as big as I want it to by sliding the slider in the height. So just like that. Now that I have that done, I'm going to save all. So I just set it at 44 pixels for the height and the width is 100%. So it's just making like the window or the frame of that part of 44 pixels high. Now we can go back to our assignment outline and notice how we have that done now. So the background image, the header, we did a GIF. We didn't use the repeat menu. You can play with that if you want to. We're going to insert a new logo using the div tag component to position it below the header. So below the header, if you click within your document, you can see that the next part underneath your header is section. You could also look in your coding, and so header is here. Like if I use this little arrow and kind of like close up the header area. So there's my header here. I can go to the next part, which is section. So this is my section. And in here, we want to insert a logo. So I'm going to hit return. And there's a few ways to do this. So on line 35, if I go up into my tabs, beside CSS Designer, it says insert. So you can go down and it says insert image. So then I can select what the logo that I want to place there. Here's a bakery logo. I'm going to pick the bakery logo. So now I have my image for bakery logo, but I believe it says to place it a certain way. Select the app div tag and insert the image. Adjust the size to suit. So we don't have to worry about the app div tag. We can insert a new div tag in here. So to do that, we just are going to put div, and then behind it, behind the image, we're also going to put it in here. So div. That's my closing. Oops. So I have an opening and a closing div tag for my image. I just noticed this has a weird slash in it, so I'm just going to take that out. And I'm going to say save all. And now it's probably about time I check on my website using a browser window. So in here, this is what I have so far. I can scale this, and this is what it's going to look like so far. Okay, so now I know. The next thing that I want you to do, adjust the size to suit. So that's the next thing we want to do. We want to adjust the size. So there's a couple ways we can do this. We can click on the hamburger menu in the logo image, and we can adjust it. Right now it's 500 by 500, so we can make it 250 by 250. We can also make it a flexible image if we wanted to, or maybe I can make it 100 by 100. No, I think that's maybe too small, so 150 by 150. Sure, that looks a lot better. But the other thing I need to do is I really don't like it sitting on the left-hand side. I want it to float above the hero light. So to do that, I'm going to go to my CSS designer. So I'm going to call this logo 2. Oh, and I don't know if I did anything in there. This part here. Well, maybe I could do it in my div tag. So in my div tag, here's my width, my height, there's my image, and I'm going to select my image, and it didn't take that new rule that I was trying to apply, so I'm going to do it again, logo 2. This is where you have to push your return and then get this screen that says select a source, and I say return again. So now I can go to my selectors and type in logo 2. And so you'll see it's at the bottom. Usually newer ones are at the bottom. And then I can just apply some margins and padding here. Or I can go down to float center and try some of those things out. I'm probably going to do padding. And I'm going to say auto. Oops. And auto for padding. Margins, I'm going to have, I'm not going to have margins, but I'm going to have display. Try to find it. Sometimes it's easier to type these things in once you understand them a bit better. So I'm just going to call one center. I think I'm just going to type in center. I'm going to call this one center logo actually, and I'm going to put in a new one. I like that a lot better. So I'm going to go like this and say center logo and apply that instead. So now you'll see down here, it says class center logo. And then when I go to click in here, it says center logo. The other thing I can do is go into my CSS code, and there should be, again, I can go to find current document and I can put center logo. Center logo is right here. So see how there's nothing applied yet. Notice that. So in logo 2, I have this, and I didn't actually create it, but I might use it for something else. So I'm going to leave that one. This one is center logo, and I want to say float center. This is where it's sometimes helpful to use your W3C schools, sorry, w3schools.com. I can click on, and that might be it. I might have to go to CSS to do so. But if I say center logo HTML, and I like for you guys to kind of have an idea of how to be independent and find your own solutions. Center logo in HTML. And then I always look for the W3 schools. So it says how to center an image, W3 schools. And then it basically gives you this. So there's my source. I have alt Paris class center. And then in your, this is exactly what I need. So it's display block, margin left, margin right, 50%. So I'm going to copy that. And I'm in my CSS coding, I'm just going to paste that in here. So now I have my display, margin, center, and notice how it's squished. So it says width 50%, but I'm going to take out the width 50%, so it just displays the way that I had it. So now you can see it's centered pretty well. So again, I'm going to save all. I'm going to go to my browser window again. I am going to refresh my screen. Oh yeah, it's already refreshed. So there's my little logo right there. So if I adjust my viewport, you can see it stays in the middle. Great. The next thing is modify the page background color and the font family to complement the banner and the logo. I kind of like what's going on with the colors here. I don't know if I like the white. I'm going with the white and pink theme, it looks like. So I'm not going to change too much about it. I might just make the white a little less bright and make it like a really, really, really light pink instead. So if I go up to in my CSS, I can go up to my background color in my body and click on here. And the other thing you can do is if you right click, you can say quick edit. And in your quick edit, it pulls up your little color dialog box. So I could select a pink color. So I'll say there, and then I could always go like this. So that's going to be the color I'm picking for my background for now. So it's matching a bit. And then the next thing, it says modify the font family also. So in here, you can see that it says body font family Sans Pro. So if I go up to my body here and I click on my text, it says Sans Pro. I'm actually going to change this to more of like a serif font. So I'm going to pick Cambria. I think that goes a bit better, although it's still a little bit thick. So there, I picked my font family and changed it. Then it says replace the hero type with your first name and your last name. So this is going to be your first name. Oh, I'm going to leave it in capitals though. Jane Doe, that's my name. The next thing I'm going to do is it says replace any other type with text to suit the content. Come up with a slogan and say your freshest or your freshest and most delicious bakery means. There we go. So there's my little slogan. And then, so I replaced the hero type. I did that. I replaced any other type within the text. Then it says edit the footer class to change the background color and the type color. So footer, the background and type color. Select the footer placeholder and change it to the copyright using your name and center the type in the footer. So I'm going to go do that. So footer class, change background and type color. So I'm going to scroll down in my picture here. And in here, I'm going to, it says copyright, div copyright. So I'm probably going to go and check. And if I click on show set, and then I go to my footer. So right here, it actually is not the footer. It says div class, strong light theme. So this is where I'm going to check my class copyright instead. So copyright, I'm going to click on that. And it says the background color is actually white. So I know that this is actually dark gray. So that's not the right thing to change. So I'm going to have to keep clicking on here to kind of figure out what section that is. So maybe it's the footer banner. No, not the footer banner. Not the footer. So maybe that is it, but it says that it's white. So let's see what happens. Oh, this is the text color is white. Sorry, I've got to click on my background. The background is gray. So that is the right area. I'm going to go and slide my slider up to the pink, and then I'm going to just select a pink for the bakery. So now that I have that, I might also select these just for fun to do some extra practice. So in here, these are dark, these are blue in the background. So it must be cards, dot cards. And you can see it's there. They do have a background. These are images that are placeholder text. So we're going to actually be replacing these with something in our folder. So I'm going to go to, you can also find your own photos. So if I wanted to find like a cupcake or something else, I can do that. So I'm going to just grab this and I'm going to go to here and just click on that. It's flowers. I'm going to click on this one here. Now that I have those two, the other thing, so remember this one here, banner, it's called dot banner section. I can go to my CSS designer and I can go dot banner. And this is actually an image. So it's called image parallax. So parallax is what looks like when you're scrolling, it doesn't, the image in the background isn't moving. See how that happens? It's kind of like a window and there's a background there. So you could change that to a different color. I don't know how much that's really going to do anything because there's a picture in the background. If you took out that picture, then it would just be a big pink bar. So once I've done all of that, it says insert a horizontal navigation bar at the bottom after the footer and after your copyright information. Change the placeholder to home, about, and contact us. So what I'm going to go do is I'm actually going to go to the top and copy my navigation bar from the top. So in here, this is all of my navigation. So I'm just going to copy this area here, nav. I'm going to go to the bottom after my div class, and I'm going to insert my navigation here. Paste. So now when I scroll down here, you should be able to see that my navigation is right there. The next thing that I want to do is I'm going to have to put my nav at the bottom inside of a div tag as well, so that I can adjust that div, give it a class, and it should work. So I have my opening and I have my closing there and there. Or save all. I'm going to put my nav on a new line, and I'm going to give my div, I'm going to go scroll to the bottom and see what it's looking like for now. So in here, click on my div class. Here, I'm going to say class equals center. And I might say center logo, because it will apply everything from my center logo to all of that information below. So if I go to center logo in my selectors, so I'm going to click on selectors. I'm going to type in center logo. And no, it doesn't seem to want to be working here. So I'm trying to figure out where I might actually have to put this in my other div tag with the copyright here. So I might have to go like this and put this underneath here. Paste. So that means I have a div tag inside. My navigation div tag is inside my footer div tag. So see how they're both in the same, they're kind of in both the same area now. So what I can do is I can make this display block a bit bigger. So I can say maximum height. And I'm going to give it a maximum height of, oh, and it has to be in copyright. So let's go to the copyright dot copyright, because that's part of our div class there. So I actually have to do it in here. So max height, pixels, and then I can kind of say how big or small I want that area. And the minimum height I'm also going to state as, because I don't want it to be too small. So I think I'm going to go like right there. So the minimum height is going to be 100, and the maximum height is going to be, so I have a minimum and a maximum height. If I drag this, I'm just scaling the size so that if it's a mobile view, it's still going to fit all of that, most of that information in there. And then in your area here, see how my nav bar is on the right side? I'm going to add a dot center to that. So I'm going to say dot center logo. And we're going to go click on the nav up here. So this one says nav center. We might have to create a new one too. And so maybe I'll say, maybe I'm going to make a new one that says .nav. So I'm creating a class that's called nav, because I don't want the one at the top of my page to match the one at the bottom. I want this one in the center and that one's going to be on the top. So in here, oops, I'm going to click on, oh, it didn't work. So I'm going to put .nav, hit enter again, and then I should have a nav class. Yes, so in here it says nav. So now I can go to .nav in here, and now I should be able to center my, or scale my information a bit better. So it doesn't have anything about a max height or width. So I'm going to say float left, and notice how it goes all the way to the left. Float right, it goes all the way to the right. So I don't want either of those. So I'm going to say none, float none, and then I'm going to say both in here. And what I might do is I might go back to my CSS coding and remember that we had created one called center logo here. So I'm going to copy the same information and just copy this. And in my nav, I'm going to put, I'm going to paste all that same information under nav here. So it's the margins are auto, the display is block. I'll say save all. And I'm going to take out my float none. Save all. And notice how it really didn't change too much. It's still in the same place it was when we first started. So I might go back and put in that float. And sometimes you can float center, but let's go display block, and we're going to go to an inline block. So this is where you might have to play with some of these, but it's great because it helps you understand everything a bit more, where it goes. I have to do this, take out this part because my logo went back to really weird. There we go. Now it's working again. So yeah, you just might have to play with this a bit. So here's nav center nav, and just see what you can do. So this one says width, and it has this right, the margin set on the right. So that's probably where it's going to be running into some issues. So I can adjust that. Just know if you adjust this, it's going to also adjust everything at the top. So I'm going to say max width is going to be set to pixels, and I'm going to make it, I'm going to make it a percentage actually. So 50%. It says 59%, so maybe I'll go 80%. Maybe I'll go 40%. Nope, not working. 90%. 100%. So 100% max width is not really ideal. We need to make it a lot bigger, I think, in order, because it's making it the max width of the navigation bar. So if I say none, or if I say inherit, nope. No, 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 none of these are working. So, oh, it says width up here 50%. So that's where I'm changing it, but I don't want to. So I'm going to go all the way across to 100%. But if we scroll up to the top, I just want to make sure that one's still there. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom. So I'm in my nav, and then I have a width 100%. And then in here it says center logo navigation. So I'm going to take out my max width. I'm going to go to my text option, and I'm going to say center instead of left. But that didn't do anything, so I'm going to undo that because I have a feeling like it will affect this up at the top. So no, it looks good. The next thing you can try is your float and padding and positioning. This, how did we put in margin left? We can try display block now. Block. And we can try to also, oh, this one has a margin of 25 and that one has no margin on it. So we can also change that if we need to. But I'm going to go and try and play with my center and center logo instead. So I'm not going to affect anything on the, so this is, I'm just playing with these, float right, float center. This one says float left, so I'm going to take that one out. I'm going to take out clear both. And yeah, that's just one of those things that we might have to play with a bit. So I'm not going to give you the answer for that one. That's the one thing that I'm going to get you guys to figure out on your own. And then view your webpage. And again, you can go to W3 Schools and it will probably help you out with that. So I would just search for centering your navigation. So then you would view this in a web browser again, and then you will save this as a PDF and you will put that into your folder for us. So here's my final, other than my navigation. I will print this again. It will save as a PDF. I'll save it into my folder, and it will be called assignment index LS assignment 2 You got to go to the right folder. So make sure you're in your assignment 2 folder, and I'm going to call it this.pdf so that I know those two go together, and those are the two that I would actually take out those other HTML files just so that my instructor knows these are the two that are final. So hopefully that was a useful tutorial for you guys. Stay tuned. The next one will be Dreamweaver Assignment 3 in the next few days. Thanks for joining.